Flicker Theater.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Really great venue. You're gonna love it there.
Oh, awesome.
So,
Cool.
And then Winston-Salem, the Reboot Arcade. Oh, that's another great.
No.
Oh, you're not doing that?
That place. I don't want to say too much, but it got place got canceled, so we rescheduled.
Whoops, I got an old flyer.
That was an old flyer. I apologize because it's a recent change. So now we're playing at the Mothership.
The Mothership. Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Mothership's great place too.
Oh,
so.
Thank God, because honestly, it's I don't know. It's just like the times or consciousness is evolving or what have you. But I've had to reschedule like a third of the shows on this tour,
really?
and whether it's the bands or the venue owners or something like that, it's like just like problematic behavior, and it's important to me to try to keep my shows like more safe than not. I don't think you could guarantee safety, of course, but it's in good conscience, certain people I can't. If you know what I mean, with like recent public behavior, if it's like I have to just sort of.
I mean, as a booking agent or as a booker of a talent buyer or whatever, you kind of have to be careful about some of that stuff, like who you have coming in to your place too.
Right.
It's hard sometimes to know.
Oh,
of course.
Yeah.
But like, you got to do your best and like.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's just, and it's, it's difficult to navigate. And, now with AI, it's like, who knows what kind of character assassinations could happen.
Oh my God.
Because they're going to fake people's voices. And it's like, so I'm not trying to go like super hard on being like a vengeful dictator. And but at the same time, it's like, if I know for a fact that somebody's doing like harmful, terrible things, and they're not apologizing, and they're not, doing anything to take corrective action, or then it's like, I really can't in good consciousness ask people to come out. And a lot of people that I love that support my music are people who are vulnerable, for many different reasons. So I have to do my diligence.
And especially lately with changes being made in people's rights.
Right.
And, and things like that. Like there's a lot that you have to consider when doing this. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Not to start off on a bad note there, but it's things you have to think about when you're out on the road like you are. So
I will say one of the best parts about being on the road is I find my freaks.
Yeah.
And when you're like, especially DIY music and stuff, you find your freaks, and we have to protect each other. And I feel like freaky, DIY, punk, whatever kind of whatever label you want to throw, like the outsider on, it's like we really are a safe haven for freaky outsider people, and we have to protect each other, to the best of our abilities. So
where all have you been
on
this tour?
Yeah, I was in Nashville. I went to Montgomery, Alabama, which was really cool. I didn't know what to expect, but they have a great community there.
Where'd you play in Montgomery?
I played at this place called Hilltop Public House. I was going to play at a record store called Village Green, but they were not able to host that night, so I played at Hilltop instead. But the community there was just so wonderful, and really like a lot of diverse music, and everybody was so supportive of everybody. It was really, really nice.
Did you play mostly venues on this tour? Have you played some house shows or?
Yep. So I played a house show in Jacksonville.
Nice.
I played a house show in Nashville. And but a lot of these house shows, they got really nice sound systems in it.
Really?
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
My guy Garrett in Nashville, he actually does sound professionally, and he got some nice gear. And it's like, you say it's a house show, but it's like it can get really good. You can get really good sound.
The house show always kind of like has that DIY aesthetic, like you're talking about, built in kind of thing. Even if they got good equipment and stuff like that, it's still, people just putting on a show at their house. It's not about making the money. It's about the community. So
yeah, when I was a kid, God bless my mom, she was a single mom of 3 kids, and she's a working class musician. So she would be working 3 jobs, 60 hours a week. She still is, actually.
Wow.
And but she partly because she was never home, didn't mind that we had, like, we would have band practice every single day.
Nice.
Between me and my brother, one of us was having band practice, usually 2 a day. And then we would have shows at the house, like when we were teenagers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so,
like invite your friends over for shows?
I'm talking about like one time 60 people showed
nice.
up. And it was like, these was a small basement.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a nice big finished basement. I'm talking about like just like watery, like like moldy.
Yeah.
But, you know, like we fit people in there. And then of course the cops did come and stuff like that. And, you know, but we just had so much fun because at first nobody came.
Yeah.
You know, but then people started hearing about it. And then a couple times we got big bands to play.
Oh,
like,
wow.
and I was just like 15 years
Nice.
old, 16 years old on MySpace and just like had that like gusto of a teenager.
MySpace.
Yeah. And I was just like, I'm just going to message this like really big metal band and see if they'll play in my mom's basement. And they'd be like, yeah, we'll play.
Nice.
And then like 60 people would come.
Who'd you get?
It was this band, gosh, I can't remember. They were just like really big in Rhode Island, which is where I grew up.
Okay.
And they're not a band anymore. And it was cool because the guitarist was a substitute teacher at my high school. And so everybody showed up because they're like, oh my God, because we would hear that he was in a band and he had like a cool like emo haircut. Yeah. Everybody's like, I bet that guy's got a life. And he was like 25 and he's a substitute teacher. And then he played a show in my mom's basement and 60 people showed up.
Wow.
And then the cops come and I'm like, everybody just get in the fucking backyard, stay inside the house, they can't come in without a warrant. And then I like went outside and I'm like 16, I'm like, excuse me, officer, there's like only 20 people here and it's only 9 p.m. The noise ordinance doesn't start till 10. I was like, it's not that loud. And then like everybody come out anyways because they didn't know what was happening. And I was like, fucking you guys.
Yeah, I used to like talking about MySpace and doing house shows. I had a house show where I was posting like, I posted like the rules like that. I was like,
oh yeah,
you know, don't go outside if the cops show up. Lock the door, or not lock the door, but close the door.
And don't let them in.
And don't let them in.
Yeah.
You know, find me. I'll come. You know, and all these kind of like little things just to keep everybody, you know, like not being arrested for no reason. And that made the cops show up though, because they found that post and they brought a copy of it with them. When they showed up,
but
the cops were trolling my MySpace.
To say you can't come to my house without a warrant.
They didn't give me a ticket for my post. They were like, something's fishy's going on here because he's posting this, so that it kind of like drew them in.
Oh shit! Yeah.
So you know that it worked against me, but you know nobody got arrested, so we were
That's
fine.
good.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any ordinances. And then I had another house venue in Asheville.
Oh, nice.
Back in the day, and it was cool. I had like a fireplace in I lived in the living room. That was like my room.
Yeah.
And that's where we had the shows. And like sometimes they were really small and intimate, and we'd have like songwriters who had like a fireplace going, and then sometimes they were really big, and it was just like too big and too much, but it was like really really fun.
Nice.
So yeah.
So you mentioned doing music as a kid, like how long? I guess how young were you when you kind of really got started?
Okay, so my mom. I'm gonna make this long story short. My mom was in the convent, gonna be a nun.
Oh wow!
Studying music, and my dad was gonna be a priest. And my mom played a 12-string acoustic guitar. This is like, you know, back in the day.
Wow!
And she went to play a retreat that my dad set up, and that's how they met and fell in love.
Oh, wow.
And then they got divorced right after I was born. So it was like by the grace of God that I even exist, because like they did not ever I never saw them in the same room my whole life.
Oh, wow.
But that 12-string guitar, my mom gave it to me, but when I was a little kid, I would try to play it.
Yeah.
But if you can imagine a little girl's hands on a 12-string, I couldn't play. And I thought to myself,
big giant thing on your lap.
And I was like, I'm never gonna learn to play the guitar. But I would just like sit it on the ground and be like, ting, ding, ding, ding. So it was like, that's how young. Yeah, I have pictures of my dad sitting with me on the piano with me in his lap, just be like, dang, 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 dang.
So at what point did you kind of like start taking it more seriously, start going on tour, putting, recording, things like that?
Yeah, so when I was about 14, when I was like 12, I started doing like tape cassette recording kind of
okay.
thing when I kind of figured that technology out. And then when I was about 14, 15, I got like a little bit of a nicer one. And then when I was 18, I got access to a digital one. And then, it just kind of like evolved from there. And my first album was when I was 17 on MySpace.
Wow.
Yeah.
17, nice. What would you remember the name of the album?
Mar.
Like
a mistake.
Oh, okay.
Because that's what I felt I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty dark.
Well, that's your teenage years. That's the time to explore that darkness a little bit. Yeah. So that means you've been doing this for a while. Like, when did you kind of like start hitting the road with it? Is that more recently, or is that?
No, I was about 21 when I first started traveling, playing music. And I, obviously I don't come from a privileged background, so I never really got to travel until I started playing music. And then 21, I was like the first time I saw mountains. I remember I played this place called the Purple Fiddle in West Virginia. And at that time I was like living in a barn and basically, closest thing to being homeless without being homeless. I'm not like talking about like a nice barn. I mean, like when it rained, the roof leaked. There was rats. The floorboard was just like plywood on top of holes and stuff. And it was in New England winter. So it's like sometimes it's like 19 degrees. This was for like 3 years that I lived in this barn. So to me, going on tour is fucking awesome because like I could sleep on people's floors and they had heat. And I was like, this is great. Yeah. And like Philly, I remember I played a show in Philly and they had a heat party after because like it was all like train kids and stuff because I used to play folk punk. Yeah. And so it's like we had a heat party. So they like one person had heat. And so everybody went to their house, all the train kids and all the travelers. And it was like February in Philly. So it's like, it was like 6 degrees. Wow. And then we're all like, and then they were like, let's turn up the heat. And it was like it was like 40 kids and there's like body heat. Plus they cranked the heat and everybody's like getting naked and stuff. It was like, it was pretty wild.
Yep. The house show DIY space is kind of, especially when you got train hoppers around.
Oh yeah,
it can get pretty crazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Like I didn't do much traveling. My parents never did traveling or anything. Maybe for a vacation or something here and there. But being in a band, hitting the road, and touring, I that's how I've seen the world. The United States, like touring from coast to coast, mostly in the southeast area we're in, but going to New York, going to California, things like that. So like I would never have had that opportunity otherwise because I have no money.
Right.
And like a tour, you're kind of like you're setting it up so that you're driving a couple hours each day and you make a couple dollars at each show, and that gets you to the next place and you can see quite a bit of the world that way.
Yeah, I do the math on it, and now I travel pretty privileged now because I'm a registered nurse by trade, so I make like nice. Decent middle class money. Oh, wow. But back in the day, like I was jugging. Like jugging is like like literally you stand at the gas station with an empty gas jug and be like, "Yo, we can't go anywhere until somebody helps us." And being young helped us to be like, people were willing to help. And then, people, the punk scene were decent enough. And then, just sleep on floors, whatever. And like, it's not that expensive if you're really willing to be a dirty kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you definitely, like what I'm talking about. Yeah. I wasn't staying at hotels for sure.
Right.
I couldn't afford that. So, either in the van or on somebody's dirty floor.
And pray to God they don't have a cat box.
Oh my God. I was thinking that right when you were saying it.
And everybody knows about the cat box.
Oh man. I mean, there's been some houses that we stayed at that we kind of would fight who got to sleep in the van that night.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, just sleep on the grass outside. It's so much better sometimes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm excited to have you play. So we're gonna like move this on along. Let's let everybody know how they can find you online. And do you have like anything coming out soon or just released or?
Yeah, I just released a mixtape and it's free to download on Bandcamp and it's on all the